I'm Jim Kircher, and we've got stories about the old and the new, about traditions and the people who value them, some for fun and some for profit. We begin with a story here in St. Charles, but it really stretches across the Atlantic, and there are plenty of strings attached.
Okay, a warm welcome for the Zither Orchestra of Ludwigsburg.
They came with their traditional costumes and their traditional instruments. This Zither Orchestra, which started up 100 years ago, comes from Ludwigsburg, Germany, a city of about 90,000 near Stuttgart. It is the sister city of St. Charles. And the Foundry Arts Center was packed for this concert. It was a mix of traditional music and more contemporary pieces, which have to be specially arranged by the director. Because, well, the zither is not exactly a mainstream instrument anymore, not even in Germany and Austria. It is easy to enjoy listening to, but very difficult to learn to play well.
I played a melody.
Sabina Staniak picked it up as a child and has been playing for 40 years.
And this is like a guitar, yes? And the other one makes the accord, plays the accord. And so
During their 2 weeks here, the visitors stayed with local families. This is just one of the many exchanges between the two cities that have taken place since Joe Dawes got the Sister City program going in St. Charles more than 20 years ago.
Our focus is mainly on student exchanges. Since 1995, we estimate that we have exchanged over 2,000 students from St. Charles and 2,000 students from Germany, from Ludwigsburg, that come and live in people's homes and expand their horizons.
Christine Zeus runs the program in Ludwigsburg and says the exchanges can be eye-opening. Visitors from St. Charles might find Ludwigsburg more American than they might have expected.
So we are very inspired by American culture.
And Ludwigsburgers can find this part of America more German than they expected.
We eat more bratwurst than you do?
We eat more bratwurst than we eat more sauerkraut. But it's so nice to come here and to get confronted with our own old German culture.
And the visitors from Ludwigsburg know what their audience likes. This is not the look you would get if you saw them play back home.
in Germany we never play in German.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right, because
this is just for us?
Yes, only for our trip in the USA.
This was one of 3 concerts the Zither Club played. They also performed in Augusta, and they went to a Missouri town that, frankly, they could not pass up. And neither could we. If you're going to do a story about Zithers, it just wouldn't be right if you didn't come to Washington, Missouri, because this town was the home of the man who became known as the Zither King. You can find his story and a lot of his zithers at the Washington Historical Society Museum. I'm familiar with the corncob pipe story.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, I have never heard of the Zither history here in Washington. It's pretty important.
It is pretty important, yeah. It was a really major deal, late 19th century, early 20th century. For sure.
How did it get started? Clearly there's a lot of Germans, so you need a lot of Germans to have
a
zither industry, right?
Exactly. It is considered a Germanic instrument. We had an Austrian immigrant, actually, by the name of Franz Schwarzer, came here. He was a wood turner, and because he had woodworking skill, the story goes that some local person said, you know, I'm having trouble finding a zither, and I miss the music from the old country. And Schwarzer said, well, I'm pretty sure I can build a zither. So he made his first zither in 1866, and pretty soon, not unlike the corncob pipe story, one person gets one, then everyone wants one.
Schwarzer, or Schwarzer in German, opened a factory which at one point had 25 employees. They made some other stringed instruments, but the specialty was zithers, and good ones. Schwarzer won a medal at the exposition in Vienna in 1873, and if you win a zither medal in Vienna, you must be doing something right. Schwarzer died in 1904. The factory stayed open into the 1920s, and then one last employee, Albert Hess, made repairs and new strings into the 1950s. So all the zithers that you have here were made here in Washington?
Yes, absolutely.
How did you get them?
Most of them have been donated over the years. We've literally received them from all over the world.
But once you're in the Zither community, right, the connections are made, I would suppose, especially since the internet started and things like that.
Exactly, yeah, the internet has made a whole different world. And actually, Schwarzer Zithers come up on eBay, for instance, about maybe twice a month.
The Zithers are beautiful, old world craftsmanship here, and they are playable. Problem was, for a long time, very few people knew how. But that's changing. A couple of years ago, the Washington Zither Club was started up, and they came to play for us on instruments built a long time ago by Washington's own Zither King.
And you can see the logos inside. They're Schwarzer Zithers. We've gone to a lot of work to restore these instruments into playable conditions, and almost all the instruments we play are over 100 years old.
Are you guys still learning?
Yes.
I'm told it takes a while.
So we've been playing about 2 years. But it takes quite some time to really get, naturally proficient at it. Yes.
Because not everybody would want to play an instrument that's 100 years old. It's the love of history and music. There are places on my fretboard that I can tell somebody else has played. There are indentations from the man that played this, right, because I know who purchased my instrument, I know what year it was purchased, and there are indentations from that person playing it for so long and other people. It's history.
So there is, here and there, a Zither revival, or perhaps more accurately, simply survival. Nothing like what happened in 1949. That was the year of the Zithers' one and only hit song. The Ludwigsburg Zither Orchestra saves it for the end of their concert. It is the theme of the film The Third Man, set in Vienna. They also took on the challenge of playing their own arrangement of the St. Louis Blues. It's interesting to see the difference between the American Zither group valuing the instrument's history and reconnecting with the past, while the Germans, well, when they go home, they'll put the dirndls, the lederhosen, and much of the old music aside. It's an uphill battle, but they'd like to make this instrument part of the modern world.
Yes, because in Germany we want to make the Zither popular, and so it's necessary that we play modern songs on the Zither and not the traditional songs.
You will see they have a lot of American film music. It fits perfectly to Wunderbar together. Old German tradition influenced by American modern arts, and yeah.
So the Sister City program pairing Ludwigsburg and St. Charles is about a lot more than a Zither orchestra. It's about sharing cultures and traditions, getting to know each other, and sometimes creating a German-American musical fusion that you simply could not have imagined.
Right, thank you, that was great.